Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Today is another one of my everyday makeup videos, and I've got a little bit of Chanel, I've got some Armani, the Armani foundation. It's new to me, but it isn't new, and I've been really enjoying that, and I have been wearing it during the day, so I decided to put it into this video. I do think it is a really lovely foundation. Today it is not raining heavy, but it is drizzly. There is cloud cover and it is warm. So you get that combination. That's now towards the end of spring here in New Zealand, and the weather is a bit humid. So this morning I've already washed my hair and dried it, and then I curled it using the straighteners. And I want to do about 2 or 3 videos this morning, so it's going to get quite warm in this room. And since this is my first video of the 3 that I'm planning to do, I thought I'd put my hair up. Now it is in a very messy sort of top knot. I didn't want to make it too tight or too styled, because then when I take it down, I'm still going to have the style that I started off with, and that's with my hair straight and just sort of a beachy wave. But it just helps when you take your hair off the back of your neck, it just helps everything cool down a bit. So it might look a little bit crazy, but that's the reason why. It's really just to keep me cool. So I've done all my skincare for the morning, and of course the last step is sunscreen. And about 5 or 10 minutes ago I put on another layer of my sunscreen, especially under my eyes. It's a really moisturizing one. It is listed below. It always is in my videos. It's one of my favorite sunscreens. So I haven't put on any primer yet. So I've used a couple of different primers with this new Armani foundation, the one that's new to me. And I have found that it works well with both, and I'm going to try it with other primers as well. But since it is more on the humid side today, I've decided to go with the Chanel. It's the Perfecting Makeup Primer, and I've used this a lot since it was released, and I'm definitely going to have to get a backup of it. Just take a tiny amount and just press that through. Now, even though it says it's mattifying, this is also really moisturizing as well. So it's not a sort of a flat primer, or you get that flat matte feeling. It really gives a really beautiful base to your makeup. Now, the other day I was just playing around with some makeup, and after I'd finished, I put a couple of different eyeshadows on my eyes, and my husband said, "Oh, your eyes look really pretty." Now, he always thinks that my makeup looks good, but when he thinks something looks extra good, he does comment. So I thought, well, I'll put that in today's video. So that primer has been sitting for a couple of minutes now. So this is the Armani. It is the Luminous Silk Perfect Glow Flawless Foundation. Now, I thought this might be a little bit too glowy for my skin and maybe more suited to the cooler months, autumn, winter, and early spring. But it has been warmer here, and I find that this wears really well. I think this is a beautiful texture. It is very lightweight, and it gives a light towards medium finish. I wouldn't say it has a solid medium finish. It also builds really beautifully as well, but it really just perfects your complexion. Now, about today is Saturday, the day that I'm filming this, and I got my 3rd and final needling done. That was on the Tuesday, so I'm quite pleased that I have finished with that now. It is quite painful, and for about 3 days after, I keep my skincare very basic, no actives, anything like HA, BHA, vitamin C, anything like that. It's really just a cleanser, an essence that has no actives in it. Everything's very soothing, and then a moisturizer on top, and that's been it. This morning was the first day since my needling that I've gone back to my original skincare. They always tell me that my skin is going to dry out quite a bit after I get it done, and it never does. Maybe it's the skincare that I use. They did give me a little kit. I think that's more for people that aren't that confident with their skincare. And in this kit is 3 items. It's something like a cleanser, a moisturizer, and then, oh, that's right, it's a cleanser and then a moisturizer, and then a mineral SPF, which is tinted. But I haven't used that. I looked at the ingredients in that, thought I've got skincare that is very similar. So really what it is, it's just nothing in it. Anything that's more geared towards sensitive skin. There's no active, so nothing's going to aggravate your skin after having that needling done. So I've just been using my own skincare, but still very basic. Cleanser, a moisturizer, and then an SPF. But this morning I've gone back to my original skincare, which includes a BHA and niacinamide, my usual moisturizer, and then of course SPF as the last step. So my skin really hasn't dried out at all. It feels like it's really just back to normal. So I'm quite lucky, because I think there's some people, when they get needling done, what happens is their skin can get quite flaky. It really dries it out, but that just hasn't been happening with mine. And each time they said, oh, no, it will this time. And then I said, well, it hasn't the previous time. Oh, but it will this time. And it just hasn't. And that's possibly because of my skincare. I've been doing it. I've changed my skincare around. I changed it a lot about 3.5 years ago. And I really understand ingredients in skincare and the actives and what they can do, and if your skin has been sensitized in any way, how to just take that all back and go back to the basics. And sometimes that happens if you've overdone it with a retinol or an AHA, but in this case it was the needling, and I didn't want to aggravate it anymore, so I just pare it back to the very basics, and that seems to work. So the Armani foundation, that is new to me. It is the Luminous Silk Perfect Glow Flawless Foundation. I'm sure you've seen reviews of this, and possibly you even own it as well. I've worn this quite a few times now. I think this is a beautiful foundation. I thought because it's called Luminous Silk and it has that perfect glow, that it may be a little bit too much with my oily skin now that the weather is warmer, but I am finding that it wears really well. So I'm just going to take one pump of this and put it on the back of my hand, so you can see it is slightly runny. It is a beautiful lightweight foundation, and the finish I think is a light towards medium. Now you can build this up, so when I start off I'm going to probably end up more with probably a light finish. I'm just going to start on the left side of my face first, and I'm going to put this on with a beauty blender. I've also put this on using a makeup brush as well, and both ways it goes on really beautifully. Of course, with a brush it does tend to go on, you get a little bit more of towards a medium finish with a brush instead of a beauty blender, but it does build up really lovely. And I do like putting on foundation with a beauty blender, especially when the weather gets a little bit warmer like it is now, because you wet the beauty blender. I squeeze out all the excess on a hand towel, but I wet it with cool water, and then my beauty blender is really beautiful and cool as well, and it just feels nice. And I also like it that you can really press and stipple your foundation in. So I've still got a little bit of the foundation left on my hand, and you can see that it is a light finish. There's still just a little bit of my sunspots still coming through, and I don't mind that. This never gets a very heavy finish, so even though I'm adding it, will give a little bit of extra coverage, but not too much. And it has the type of coverage that I really prefer. It looks, I think, just a lot more natural when it has a finish sort of light towards medium. So this is a newer foundation for me, as I was saying, and I've also bought a couple of other foundations as well. I did make a promise to myself last year when I was tidying out my drawers. I have one drawer that is a foundation drawer, so when I buy new ones, other ones have to go if I haven't got room. I'm not going to start getting drawers and drawers of foundation. So that's why this year I've been quite selective when I've been choosing foundations to try out. So I'm going to have to look in my drawer a bit later on and see if I've got room for these 3 new foundations. And if I haven't, then I'm going to have to decide what's going to go out. And if they're not expired, the foundations that I choose not to have anymore, I'm not going to just throw them out. I'll probably give them to my sister-in-law to try. And you say when I use this foundation, I used it with the Chanel Sublimage Concealer and it looked really beautiful. Today I'm going to use the Natasha Denona Concealer. This is new to me. This was released this year and I picked this up when I was in the United States. And I think this is a really good concealer. You only need a little bit and it gives quite a lot of coverage. I have got just a couple of breakouts that are finally starting to settle down. I'm not sure why I got those. Maybe it was from the trip, a bit of jet lag, or from the plane with the dry air. I mean, who knows? I've got no idea, but they're just there. So I'm going to use this concealer just to cover those blemishes as well. I've got a little one there too. It's nothing major, but I'm just not used to really having blemishes anymore. So what I do is, last night I decided I want to get rid of them. I'm sick of them hanging around. So last night, just on those areas there, I popped on just a tiny amount of an AHA that I have just to those areas, just to try and make them go away a little bit quicker. But still, it's nothing that a little bit of concealer can't fix. It's just weird at the age of 54 that still get breakouts. It's just the strangest thing. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this concealer through here, just a small amount, and I'm just going to use my finger to press that in. And then for eyeshadow primer, this is new to me as well. This is the Rare Beauty one, and I've been finding this really good. Once I've popped it on, then I just let it sit for a minute or two. Now for the past few days I have pulled out the Charlotte Tilbury. It is the contour wand, and I'm going to have to get a backup of this, and I haven't been using a lot of it, but just a little bit through here and just up through here as well. It is such a user-friendly contour. I think it just blends beautifully and it is very, very forgiving. So if you haven't tried doing contour before, or you're new to contouring like I am, because I haven't really done it a lot over the years. I just do it every now and then, and if I have the time. It's definitely a step that I could easily skip. But if you're like me, that certainly isn't an expert in contouring, this is very forgiving and it just blends really beautifully. So I just stick the contouring just to those parts there. I don't really go over the top. It just hopefully helps. Just give just a little bit of a lift through here. And then I'm just going to do about 3 dots on each, or maybe one more, just on each side through there. Now I either use the Beauty Blender, or there is this Sonia G brush, and this is called the Sheer Buffer. This also works really well too with liquids, and especially with this contour, but either one I find works really well. I've used both the last few days, the Sheer Buffer and the Beauty Blender. And I don't think I mentioned it, but I already did do my eyebrows as well. I just wanted to skip a step with you because otherwise the video sometimes goes on a little bit too long. But as always, everything that I'm putting on my face today, it is listed and linked below. So for bronzer today, I am going to use the Sonia G, the Sheer Buffer, and I'm going to use the Chanel, the Le Beiges. It is the Healthy Glow Bronzing Cream. These are the travel size ones that came out, and they are a different formula to the bigger ones. I also have those as well. I actually prefer this formula, and this one is in the shade, I have all three of the shades. This is in the one in medium. Now, if you haven't purchased the Sonia G brush, if I was going to recommend any brush to you, this is definitely one of them. This puts on product so beautifully, and I've been using it a lot with my cream bronzers. It really just applies the product really, really beautifully, and you don't get any patchiness whatsoever. Not that I really did with this Chanel bronzing cream, but again, it just makes, this brush just makes using products just that little bit more user-friendly. Now at the moment on Beautylish, I think this is out of stock, but I imagine it will come back in stock. I'm not sure when, but when it does, I will certainly let you know on my Instagram stories and also on my community page as well. And for powder today, I'm going to use the Chanel Natural Finish Loose Powder. I said at the beginning of this year, and I've mentioned it a couple of times as well during the year, that I've made it my mission this year that I am going to finish it, and it looks like that I am going to. There is just a little bit more in the bottom, but I think it's going to be empty by the end of the year, and I'm definitely going to be buying a backup of it. I just love this powder. I think it mattifies and smooths the skin without doing a flat matte. I think this goes just perfectly with oily skin. So today I'm just going to use the Luminous brush and just pop a little bit of the powder on. Even though this foundation, well, it's supposed to be, it says Luminous, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, I don't really find that it is overly glowy or anything like that. So I still have to put powder on like I do with 99% of my foundations, but I don't find I have to put on too much powder. And for eyeshadow today, I'm going to use two different Chanel eyeshadows. One is the Lac, and the other one, and it's probably an unpopular opinion, but it's definitely one of my favorite eyeshadows that Chanel released this year, and that is the loose powders. I think these are absolutely beautiful, and this one is in the deeper shade, so I'm only going to be using the two shades. So I just give it a shake, undo the cap, give it a little tap, and then I do press it on the end, and I just don't seem to get any fallout. This seems to do the trick, doing it this way. And I'll just tap a little bit in on the outer corner on each eye. So I just tap the amount that I want on. Then I'm going to grab a Chanel brush. Now what I do is I just leave this open in case I need to use some more, because there's still a lot of pigment on this little sponge here. And I just sit this down on the table in front of me. I'm going to take a Chanel brush. This is one of the dual-ended ones. It's number 200. And going to take the one that has the fluffier side and just blend this out. I'm going to take it through the crease, and I'm going to take it above as well, but only slightly above. Now I may want to add a little bit more of the shadow, but what I do is I put some on first, blend it out, and then just see where I'm at. So if I want it a little bit deeper, that is certainly easy enough to do. I know a lot of people thought that these were just super messy, but they're not. And you can see that I just don't get any fallout with it. I find that these are really long lasting. I think that they are really flattering on mature skin. They don't crease, and as I was saying, they also last really well. And then if I think I need a little bit more shadow, I can just take the sponge and just dab directly onto my eyelid again, or I can take the brush and just sweep it across the sponge and add a little bit more. Then I'm going to pop some of the shade on my lower lash line as well. So I'm just going to take the rephr 3. I haven't put this back again. I've just kept this lid out, and I just sweep the brush along the sponge, and it picks up the pigment that I need, and just take that on my lower lash line. Then I'm just going to take one of the Chanel, the eyeshadow lacs, and just pop a little bit on my lid. Now I only do one eye at a time. The shadow I put on each eye and then blend it. With these, they do dry down fairly quickly. So I'm just going to use the other end of the brush and just tap that through. I love these as well, and I often wear them because once they're on, they are on, and they have a shimmer to them, but it is very, very subtle, and I think it looks beautiful for during the day. So then just pop a little bit onto the other lid. And again, just slowly just tap it on. And I'm also just taking the excess just through here as well. Now, even though they dry down, like I said they do, and quite quickly, you don't need to panic. It's just that I wouldn't put the product on each eye and then start blending. Definitely do one eye at a time. But you can just play around with them. Probably for, I'd probably say for about a minute before they start drying down. Then I just flip my brush over again, and if I think some of that lac shade has gone over the corner a bit too much, then I just blend out the shadow again. And for blush today, I'm going to use one of the new Dior blushes. This is a reformulated one, and this is number 219, and it is Rose Shimmer. I'll just take out the little brush that comes with these. This is a really beautiful blush. It has a shimmer to it, but I think that it is quite subtle, and I don't find that it emphasizes texture. This is a really beautiful shade. So I'm just going to take a Chukahodo brush and go in fairly easy. I can always build it up if I want to. But when I used it the other day, I went in a little bit heavy with the blush, and I thought next time I use it, I'm just going to tap the brush in very lightly and then just slowly build it up. But I do think that it is a beautiful shade, and it has that sheen to it. But as I said, I do think it is very, very beautiful. It adds that sheen without just emphasizing my texture. It's just really, really pretty. So I'm just tapping the brush in very lightly and just put a little bit more on the other side just to even things up. So I think that looks really pretty. Now for lipstick, I'm going to use one of the Dior Lip Addict Maximizers. I've spoken about these a lot. I love this, and I particularly love this shade. It is shade 014. I can't remember the name of it. It's not the new one, the Nude Bloom. That is limited edition, just came out. I did get that one, and that is beautiful too. This is a permanent shade. It is the perfect blend of a pink and a beige. It's just really beautiful, and I just love the texture of these and how they feel on the lips. But this is a really beautiful shade. And here is the finished look. I'm not going to put my hair down because it just feels so nice off my neck, and it has stayed really lovely and cool in the room so far. And I've got a couple more videos to do, so I just want to keep the back of my neck feeling really nice and cool. So the finished look is really pretty. I mentioned it earlier, but this is the eyeshadow look that I wore. It was either yesterday or the day before. And my husband said, oh, your eyes look really pretty. And I think that they do. Even though this is the deeper shade in the loose eyeshadow, it has that little bit of that purple in it. You can go quite easy with it and make it just a really beautiful, soft, everyday type of makeup look. And those eyeshadow lacs are just spectacular. I think they are fantastic. If you haven't tried them before, and if you have oily lids, they're definitely worth a try, because once they are on, and they just give the most beautiful, subtle shimmer. Really, really pretty. And the Armani foundation is gorgeous. I think it gives a beautiful finish. I think it gives a very natural finish. It feels very light on the skin. It doesn't sink into any of my crinkles and wrinkles. And this is probably either the 4th or 5th time that I've used this foundation. As I said, oily skin. It's now warmer here in New Zealand, and it has been wearing really beautifully. Armani are coming out with a new foundation. I think it's something called like the Luminous Glow or something like that, because I think people that had more dry skin thought this foundation, the Luminous Silk, was going to have more of a glow to it. And I think some people were a little bit disappointed with that, whereas this new one that they're going to be releasing, maybe that may be more suitable towards dry skin. If I can get my hands on it, I still will give it a try. It's probably going to be, if it's glowy like they say that it's going to be, probably more suited for my skin in the cooler months, but if I can get my hands on it, I'll definitely pick it up. The blush is really pretty. As I was saying, it's one of the reformulated Dior blushes. I've picked up 2 of them. I have no issues with them. I find that they blend beautifully, and I actually have to go quite, well, with the 2 that I've picked up, quite easy with them. I find them quite pigmented, so I just tap very lightly with my brush, as you saw, and just slowly build it up. Now, I could certainly get more pigment out of this blush if I wanted to, but I just like this really soft wash of color with that really pretty shimmer. And this shade in this Dior Maximizer is just gorgeous. I've used this a lot, and I often pop this in my handbag when I'm going out because it's easy to reapply. I don't even need a mirror to reapply it, and I know that it's going to look really good. So next time I do an order with Dior, I am going to get a backup of this. Out of all the shades, this is probably one of my favorites, and as I said, the one that they've put out as a limited edition with, I think it was the Blooming Boudoir collection, I think it's called Nude Bloom, that is a really gorgeous shade as well. And if I remember, I will wear it in one of my videos that I do in the near future. So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.